Well, welcome everyone and thank you for joining us. My name is Ross Grace and it's my privilege and honour to be the Executive Principal at Heathdale Christian College. Tonight I'm going to be joined by Yvonne Harvey, who is the Principal of the Melton campus. And also in the background we've got some other helpers. So I've got Chris McClellan, who is our Director of Student Wellbeing and Educational Service, who will help us to answer some of your questions along through the night. But along with Chris, there's also Criselda Flores, our Community Development Assistant, along with Anissa Croxon, our Enrolment Officer. And Anissa will be taking you on a guided virtual tour a little bit later on. Then Azuba Reddy, our Events and Community Coordinator, will also be assisting Anissa. And we also have Mark Davey, our Community Engagement and Development Manager. So we've got a bit of a good team sitting behind the screen, and Yvonne and I are going to be sitting in front of the screen for you. You know, though we're joining together from different homes around the city, I would like to begin by recognising the first custodians of the land on which Heathdale Christian College stands. It's where we live, work and learn. We would like to acknowledge the people of the Kulin Nations as the traditional custodians of the land on which our community is being built. And we give thanks to our Almighty Creator God for their care and stewardship of this land and pay our respects to their leaders, past, present and emerging, and for any Aboriginal people present today. We also pray for ongoing healing in damaged relationships between our Indigenous brothers and sisters and all our non-Indigenous Australians, and we seek God's work of reconciliation in all of our human relationships. So just before we get underway tonight, I just got a little question that I'd like to throw in your direction, if that's okay. So I want to know, how did you first hear about Heathdale? You know, was it from somebody you know, or you may have stumbled across our website, happened to drive past one of our campuses, you're maybe even a past student, or even somebody who attended Mowbray? Well, I don't know, how did you find out about Heathdale? Well, what I'd like you to do, please, could you just put your answer into the Q&A tab, which is a really bit of a good practice for you, because when later on if you want to ask some questions. But while you're doing that, I'll just explain a little bit more about what we will be doing tonight. So make sure you just let me know through the Q&A that how did you come to know about Heathdale? See, tonight we start our journey with you. Along the way, we'll have many chances to connect, and hopefully most of those will be in person, but we'll also take those virtual opportunities as well. So tonight I will begin our time together with you telling you a little bit about Heathdale's history and how we believe Heathdale's unique style of Christian education helps your child develop their God-given potential. Then after me, Yvonne will give you a brief look at how that works practically through our education and learning and co-curricular programs. Following Yvonne, Anissa will guide us on our virtual guided tour of the primary spaces at the Melton campus. And then towards the end, Yvonne and I will rejoin and answer some of the questions and assist you as you think through and plan your child's education. We recognise that this is a very important and significant decision to make, and we hope that we can bring some clarity and further information to help you make the best decision around this significant moment. So please, if you have any questions throughout tonight, put them in the Q&A and we'll do our best to answer them, whether it's going to be Yvonne or myself from the front of the camera, or any one of the team who are working away in the background. Then at the end of the night, I'll work through some of the next steps with you regarding our enrolment process for 2023. But before we begin, as is our tradition, when we gather as a school community, we always pray and ask God's blessing on our families and students and our Heathdale Christian College community. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to just lead you in prayer now. So let's pray together. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of life to be able to enjoy this day. And Father, thank you for the opportunity for us to be together and to learn more about the school that you called into being, the school that you sustain, and the school that you will lead into the future. Father, we just really want to honour you through this meeting tonight, and we ask that everything that we do bring glory and honour to your holy and precious name. So we ask your blessing over tonight's meeting. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Thanks. Okay, just before we go any further, I just need to check. Oh, look, this is fantastic. Yep. It's good to see that some of you have seen got some of this information through some friends, and you've clearly been chatting to each other over coffee and heard some really good stories about Heathdale. And then there's some others there that are saying, yep, you're on the web page, as well as, oh, it's good to see some people have either driven past the Werribee or the Melton campus. So I say to each of you, thanks for letting us know that, and thanks for sharing that. And it's really good to hear that little part of the story, and we'll hopefully hear more of that story at another stage. So let's start this evening by sharing a brief history and the reasons why we are who we are as a college. And this will give you some insight of our Christian ethos, which continues to underpin all we do and the very day-to-day operations. Firstly, I would like to play for you a short video about our college's history and its original founder. And I'm sure that this little video will just give you some background and context of who we are. Watch this.
On the very fringe of Harper's Crossing, the land Reverend Joe Westlake had pegged out for a new Christian school was sparse. Heath's Road was still a dirt track. Reverend Joe knew he was called to provide a school focused on providing Christian education in the West. Reverend Joe recalled, "There were many difficulties, but our problems were God's opportunities." 2 weeks before school began, the school site was still bare, but God had been faithful and will continue to be. Car parks were pegged out, portables located, furniture moved in, power lines connected, trenches dug. It was all hands on deck. We stepped out in faith and moved into the school. God has continued to be faithful ever since. Some 37 years later, Reverend Joe could never have imagined what God had in store for the area, or for our Werribee and Melton communities, but nor would he have been surprised. In the words of the Reverend, if the original vision was of God, it is unlikely that he will change it, although he may expound it. He is, after all, the sovereign created God, but he continually works for good with those who love and trust him. My prayer is that he who brought the college into existence may continue to guard it and guide it into a future enhanced for his glory.
I must admit, I never tire of seeing that clip. It just really always helps me to remember where we've come from and where we're heading to. You know, the college has grown considerably from those 37 students at Heathdale that started with just over 39 years ago. In 2012, we were blessed with the opportunity to purchase our other site in Melton, and our second campus was born. And today we have just under 2,000 students across both campuses at Melton and Werribee, from kinder to year 12. In Melton, we have a vibrant growing community of around 300 families that partner with us. And the growth at Melton is a continual source of excitement for us, with 2 classes at most levels. And in 2022, we'll begin and commence with a Year 9 class and then Year 10 in 2023. In a matter of years, we'll be our first group of graduating students of our Year 12 class at Melton, and they'll be known as the class of 2025. You know, as you just heard in the clip, our founding family's key desire for Heathdale Christian College was that they wanted their children to learn within a context that openly acknowledges God is intrinsic to all parts of life. This tradition continues to this day and is the strong umbrella that links both of our campuses. And our teachers see the students before them as a gift from God, a young life that has emotional, social, physical, intellectual and spiritual needs. And each of these needs must be supported and nurtured and is demonstrated in a way that we teach our subjects. Hold morning devotions, our use of our pastoral carers and our teaching and learning enhancement teams who work alongside our students, supporting them, nurturing them, caring for them. And I believe it's this multifaceted approach forms our distinctive from other schools in this region. But our distinctive is driven by one of our key foundational theological beliefs, that is that God has called you, parents, to raise your children within the context of your own family unit. Now, and the staff and I do not want to undermine that God-given authority of parents, but rather we desire to partner with you as you raise your children, to educate, to support, assist each student as they strive to reach their own God-given potential. We hope to do this by providing high quality, deep and rich learning experiences, as well as speaking to these young lives to help them to discover and develop their gifts and talents and to develop their individual character. Yvonne will be able to give you some examples of how this looks for the students at our Melton campus. So I'm going to ask Yvonne to come and join us and then she'll let you know some of the details. So thanks, Yvonne. Over to you.
Thanks, Ross. And what a pleasure it is to serve our families here at Heathdale. Well, each morning, students are greeted by their teachers and settle into a time of prayer and Bible reading, singing or encouraging one another. It is here that students are helped to think about the God of the Bible, Jesus, who came to earth to show us how to live. It is through discovery and asking questions that students can see godly principles and develop character. Through reading Bible stories, they see that the characters in this book are just like them, and through life experiences, they learn about the place they have in the world to help, pray, and serve others. It's a delight to see students who care by helping one another, and this happens throughout our school from the youngest to the oldest. In our senior students who are often very involved in the primary students' school life. In our prep classrooms, teachers model learning and inquiry. Students are helped to work alongside others to communicate effectively and explore new ideas and concepts. Practicing skills and rehearsing learning occurs to build student understanding, and students are often directed to try new things and take educational risks as they learn. And students often surprise us and go beyond what we had ever expected. Our middle year 3 to 4 primary students begin to be involved in sports competitions and choirs and musical groups, while our older primary students have an opportunity to apply for a leadership position as primary captains and house captains. Now, these students learn that being a leader isn't just the person who stands out and commands others, but each can serve and lead in ways that encourage others to reach their goals also. If there is anything we do consistently across our school, it is help students become confident learners, showing independent thinking and an ability to question and learn in a caring and supportive community. Every student that will hear the message that God loves each and every one and wants the very best for them as they make positive choices in their life. And to me, these kinds of conversations are at the very heart of what we call the Heathdale Experience. So now I'll hand over to Anissa, who will guide you through all of our virtual tour at the primary spaces at Melton. And as we go, don't hesitate to put any questions in the chat as you think of them.
Thank you, Yvonne, and welcome everybody to our virtual tour. I'm sorry that it can't be done in person, so I hope that me taking you through today will just give you a tiny taste of what to expect at our Melton campus, and I look forward to 2022 when we can have some on-site tours, and I look forward to meeting you then. So we're actually going to begin in our auditorium, and this space is used for our school assemblies and other internal activities such as incursions or sometimes an overflow of drama class, but it's a great space. It used to hold our whole school. Now we've had to break it up into smaller classes. So our assemblies are run by one class on a fortnightly basis and are a chance to come together over different year levels. The host class may perform a song they've been learning in music or a play from a drama lesson. And they also provide as an assembly a safe space for our students to practice their leadership skills and public speaking. And they also have the opportunity to do some performances. In this time, staff also enjoy recognising student achievements. So you would have seen a photo earlier of some students receiving an award. We now move from the auditorium to our Year 1 classrooms. Our Melton campus is becoming a dual stream school, meaning we have 2 prep classes, 2 Year 1 classes and so forth, and will continue to grow to 2 Year 12 classes in 2025. This measured growth means we are ensuring that our environment is spot on for our students, because you only get one take at each year, and we know that it's integral to get it right. With the backing of our kindergarten to Year 12 campus at Werribee, this is something we're committed to as a staff and a college. Our primary classrooms are set up very similarly to this Year 1 classroom that you can see here. We have 2 rooms which are interconnected with a space, and in this space we do weekly reading, other one-on-one or small group activities. In these early years, we focus on numeracy and literacy, which are the core foundational educational blocks. We also teach phonics, which are the sounds that letters make. But if that sounds a little bit confusing to you, please don't worry. We also run lessons to teach parents so you can help your child at home as they learn to read. Parents are also able to become a part of our reading roster and come and visit in the classroom to listen to our preps as they learn to read. This parent partnership is essential to our style of education, because when the school and parents are on the same page, it's then that a child achieves the best outcomes. As previously mentioned, each morning begins with devotion time with their homeroom teacher, and then over the course of the week, students will study science, numeracy, literacy, HASS, which is Health and Social Sciences, and Christian Life Studies. And then with specialist teachers, they will study health and PE, IT, sport, library, art, music, and French, which is our college language. We're now moving into our learning enhancement classroom. Our teachers are able to cater for a wide range of learning abilities in each classroom. Where additional support is needed, particularly for numeracy or literacy, or extension work is needed to further challenge students, we have a specialist group of dedicated teachers in our learning enhancement team. They work closely with our staff to provide additional programs and work for particular students as they need it. Now, one of the common questions I get asked when I have tours and children come along is where are our playgrounds and where are our school ovals, because recess and lunchtime can sometimes be the most important subjects in school. So one thing you might notice as we pan around the school now, it seems like we've built classrooms around these large outdoor spaces. Within our college grounds, we have 3 playgrounds, multiple sand pits, several in-ground single-person trampolines, the AstroTurf, which you can see here, and a double outdoor basketball court. We also have an indoor secondary double court gymnasium towards the back of the campus. One unique feature of our college, which you won't see on this video, but hopefully I can show you in person, is we actually have a mini golf course on site, and I've not heard of that in any other school. And in the past, the students have had an opportunity to have a game or two. You will also notice as we pan around in this shot, we have securely fenced to provide additional safety, as at the rear of our campus, our property extends to accommodate 2 further ovals and some outside hockey courts. These additional areas are only open for our secondary students during PE or for special events such as house cross country. So quite a large space we have out at Melton. Now, one of my favourite rooms, and again I hope to show you in person one day, is our college primary art room. This space is always buzzing with creative chatter and colour, and our specialist art teacher is extremely passionate about her craft, and you can see on the walls there some of the student artwork on display. This light and bright space for our preps to Year 6 students use all kinds of mediums. And as you can see, there's crayon and charcoal and pencils and oils and watercolours. So lots of creative work happens in here. In the upper primary and secondary levels, students also learn about the history of famous artists through time and examine their techniques. Now, my other favourite space is the library, and not just because I have a love of reading. We have a separate space within our resource centre for age-appropriate books and settings as we try to nurture a love of reading in every year level. You can see here our prep space, and in this area, children love to choose books which ignite their imagination. And then in our middle and primary years, students often choose a book and sit in what we have here is our little step-down reading circle to read together. Our secondary space is set up at the rear, not only for reading, but also with books and materials to help them develop their research skills. Our final space is our STEM room. STEM is a problem-solving based subject which combines science, technology, engineering and mathematics to inquire deeply about local and global issues. Our STEM room is unique to the Melton campus, and students can construct robotics and build a Lego wall, which we'll pan around to very soon, or work together in small groups, there's the Lego wall, to solve problems using creativity, initiative and collaboration. So I'm going to now ask Azuka to bring up a map of our Melton campus. As you can see by this map, there is lots and lots and lots of room to grow. At present, we only occupy about half of the buildings that you'll see on the bottom part of the map. So you can see the front half there in the grey is all our buildings there. So to the left are our primary classrooms. Our secondary classrooms are in the middle, and this leaves lots of room to develop our Year 9s next year and our Year 10s in 2023 and so on to the right hand side. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to meeting you in person. I'm now going to hand back to Ross and Yvonne for our questions and answers.
Thanks, Anita, for that wonderful tour. Hey, boy, doesn't it really show what a wonderful space this Melton campus is. And look, to be honest, even one of the things I love about actually seeing that again, I think about the journey that we've, you and I have been on over the last 4 or 5 years with the Melton campus. And each year there's something new, there's an expansion of that, and that'll continue to happen over the next 4 or 5 years as well. So folks, if you come and join us, you'll be a part of that amazing journey as we open up the Melton campus from now. So again, thanks, Anita, wonderful tour. And I hope that's really whet your appetite to come and then see the Melton campus when we're able to start conducting tours on site again. So I hope you've also been putting some questions in. If you've got any questions, put them into the Q&A, because then what we'll do is Yvonne and I will try to answer some of those. I know that the team behind the scene have already been answering some questions. So thanks, team. But look, if there's some other questions from there, let's go from there. And I'm just looking down on the board. Yvonne will say, okay, there's a formal homework program. Oh, homework! What a great thing to talk about. Yeah. So tell us, how do things work for the primary students in terms of, we recognise they spend a day at learning and within their classrooms really stimulating stuff, but then often we do ask the students to do some homework. So can you tell us about some of the details?
Yep, so they start off small because they're just in prep when they start. So they might start with some literacy and a teeny bit of numeracy, but it's mainly things like reading and really drilling down into making sure that they've got those core fundamental skills and keep practicing those skills at home. Yep.
And so then, for example, what about the grade 4s, 5s and 6s? So once they get to the senior primary end, so is it still just a little bit of homework, or does that step up a little bit?
Yeah, so it steps up a little bit. So normally by about grade 4, 5, they're doing about 45 minutes. And often again, it'll be skill and drill, skilling into particularly the numeracy and the literacy again, and of course keeping up that reading all the time.
Yep, that's good. So it's really what I'm hearing you talk about is it's a consolidation of what they're learning in the classroom. And you're right. And I used to say to parents too, you know, yes, in some respects we could see that doing homework is actually a really good preparation, especially when they get into the VCE years, because again, the way the VCE years work is that there's an expectation that you're doing X amount in the class and X amount of personal study. And so it's doing this out of hours is a good training ground for me. So thanks for that. It's good. Okay, and there's now another question that says about class sizes. So we did say before the fact that there's only 2 classes at every year level across the primary school, but just tell us a little bit of detail around what the classes sound like.
Sure. So in each class from prep to year 2, we have 22 students roughly, and then from year 3 to year 6, we have 25 students. And as Ross said, so we're having 2-stream school, so 2 classes at each year level.
That's good. And that's just continuing to grow its way through. So have you got actually 2 classes at each year level at the moment, or what's it look like in the primary school?
So for next year, we will see if I get this right.
Yeah. So this is my test of you. Otherwise, I think, Yvonne, I'm going to send you off and do some homework, but that's okay. Here we go. 2
preps, 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, 1 5 and 1 6.
Yay.
And then the year after, that'll go to 2 5s.
Yep.
And
so
then
that'll be 2023,
yep,
2024 and 2 6. And of course, those students feed into our secondary school. So, but at the moment though, we've got 2 year 7. So you've only got 1 year 6 for 2 year 7. So
correct.
Talk to us about how other students come to the school for secondary, who are students who've travelled through the primary school. So transition into year 7, what does that look like?
So some parents choose to send their children to us at year 7 and some choose to send them in earlier. So when we're in year 7, because we go up to those 2 classes, it's important that we make sure all of the students are feeling really comfortable with each other. So we do orientation days, we do class trials, we do team building exercises, and we do some testing. On the orientation days as well, just to make sure that we've got all the children in the right spot and that we understand their learning so that we can set them up for success.
Hey, great point about setting them up for success. So in that sense then talk about how you and I use the language when we're talking together about the students' learning growth or their growth in their learning. So talk to us a little bit about how we do that and how do we make sure that we are helping them to grow in their learning. Yeah.
What's important to us at Heathdale is that we achieve a year's learning growth for every year of age. And that doesn't matter where you come in at. So let's pretend someone comes in at year 4, but they're actually performing at a year 5 level. Then we make sure that we accommodate for those students to make sure that they are learning from the point that they start out with us. And that for some people might involve some gaps that we need to plug and fill because everybody might have a reason of something they don't understand, or they might have missed some schooling. And so then if there are gaps, then we get help for those students, but equally we might get help if a student is particularly advanced as well.
So again, it's just about assessing, and that's probably why you made a reference to the testing at year 7 and stuff, but we'll do won't always do testing as you enrol at other year levels. It's more in the school time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's what that testing gives you an understanding of where they're at. Yeah. So then we can start to measure and track their go.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more, if you wouldn't mind, because there's a question here that just says, how do we make sure that the kids' achievement and their progress is being addressed? And so that's where. So if you wouldn't mind, let's say start with that situation. You're right. I'm coming in at grade 3, but look, there's some gaps in my spelling and a little bit in my writing, but my maths is okay. So if I was a year 3 student at the Melton campus, what would the Heathdale team do to support my learning?
Okay, that's a really big question.
That is. I just might have to have a lay down after asking that question, but while you answer it. Yeah.
So when the student comes in, we do standardised testing, but we also do pre and post informal testing. So it's not all summative testing. We make sure that we are assessing the students along the way. But again, don't feel that the children are being tested every 5 minutes.
No.
They're not. So the teacher is able every lesson to work out where they're at. And then the teachers are trained in their differentiation. So differentiation occurs within the classroom. So in any classroom, you can expect quite a broad range of abilities. And it's important, therefore, that we train the staff to make sure that they can work with students across the whole spectrum. And then if a student is found to have some gaps that the teacher thinks, oh, I might need to get a little bit of extra help with that spelling, that's where we've got learning assistance, and we have our learning enhancement program as well. And it might be that a student might have a particular plan and goals on that plan to reach those goals, so that as soon as that gap is filled, like they might do a mini lit program or something like that, and then they're off and away again.
Hey, you answered a very big question really well there, Yvonne, so it's good, which is good, so thanks. But what I'm actually, as I listen to you answer that, what I'm really loving about what you're saying is, and I can think about when I first started teaching, I was basically told, here, and so I was a junior primary school teacher, here's your class, here's the curriculum, teach it. Whereas I hear you talking very much about not only understanding that year level, but then starting to understand the individuals in the year. So is that what you say is a significant point of that is focus of us at Heathdale?
Yeah, so I think the mantra is know thy student. And so it's really important that all of our staff know all of the children in their class, and that just doesn't mean where they're at in their spelling or reading level. That means, who are they as people? What do they enjoy? What makes them tick? What's their learning profile? What makes them a good learner? When do they feel insecure? When are they upset? So it's the whole child. Schooling's not just about academia, and it's learning all there is to know.
That's good.
With parents helping us.
That's what I was going to say. That probably would actually lends itself why we talk about this parent partnership, because at the end of the day, you're going to know your child far better than we will. But as we talk about the learning that needs to happen for your son or daughter, we're able to hear what you say and say, let's put all of this together. And this is going back to your statement, started this part of the nation, setting the students up for success. So that's good. Hey, one of the other things, and this is another one of the questions that's been put our way, is and that it is challenging, and you do hear about the rough and tumbleness sometimes of playgrounds and issues that sit around bullying. Now, sometimes that can be, that face-to-face stuff, or even some of the times in sort of through cyberbullying and stuff. So I'd love to tell the folks out there that we've got over 360 angels at Melton campus. No, we've got over 360 kids who are all growing and learning what it is, and some make mistakes and some have to do some learning. But so especially though, when it comes to that sort of that issue around bullying, how do you manage that at Melton?
Yeah. So every child that comes in has their own personality, and they, as you said, they might make mistakes. And generally children are testing boundaries, learning, maybe pushing a few boundaries here and there. But firstly, the homeroom teachers are really adept and capable of dealing with problems that come up. So we have lots of different strategies at the school. So we have our zones of regulation, we have choice wheels, we have restorative justice, and generally all of the classroom teachers are able to manage most things that occur. If something escalates, then obviously that's when a head of learning module or a level team leader might get involved in setting the behaviour and culture. But we always come back to that point that we are a Christ-centred education, and we work on forgiveness and having another go. But our primary importance is that everyone has a right to feel safe.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I'm really glad that's where you finished it. That sense of a real strong framework that we have around that is that everyone has to have the sense of feeling safe, then be treated in dignity and as with dignity, and as they understand being safe and treated with dignity, there's that sense of belonging. So, yeah, as I say, we'd love to say that we're the perfect school, but it's in that framework of safety and dignity and belonging is the way in which it has addressed. That's good. Thank you. There's another question that sits there that is very one about that. Okay, I pay my fees and things, but what does that include? So do I need to buy other things in it? And I'm actually going to ask you to speak to the folks about where does even devices come into that as element. So sure. So in terms of what other things do I have to buy? Textbooks, my pencils, things like that, or is everything included in the fee?
Sure. So most things are included in the fee. The primary students do have a book list that we purchase on top of the fees, but almost everything is included, including devices. So we are a blended learning school, so not every child has a device, but we roughly have a 1:2 ratio in the primary school of devices, and that might be iPads or Surface Pros, dependent on their year level. But generally everything apart from uniform and the book list and the canteen is included.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, I know a few kids who would love to have their own tab at the canteen, but that's good that there's for them. No, thanks for that. And I think there's the sense of the access to the technology is there, and that's part of again the Heathdale experience. Hey, there's one last question that asks about the enrolment process, which is probably a really good question to segue into some final things that we'd like to talk to you about. And so that is, what is the enrolment process look like? So from my end, I say once you've submitted your application, this is then reviewed by our senior leaders in the college for the applicant enrolment priority. And our enrolment priority gives an order to the applications that we receive. And our enrolment priorities are available for you to see on our website under enrolment policy. Now, if there is a position available in the year level, we will then invite some families to an appointment to discuss your application. And this is your chance to discuss with us any of those additional queries that you may have, just some of the things that Yvonne was talking about, whether it is to do with learning, whether there is some special things that we need to be considered, they become part of that conversation. So, and that's an important conversation for us because we're recognising that choosing a school is a big decision, and it's one that we don't recognise that is not taken lightly. And in the recognition of that, the significance of that, that's why we want to take some time around enrolment. So it's not just fill out a piece of paper and then you're in. No, it's once you've that application is made and then around that conversation, that's important. But then after this conversation, an offer may be made or an application may be waitlisted. So that's the way in which our enrolment process works. Now, what's the timeline now as we consider for 2023? So for 2023 enrolment year, we begin our first round in the process at the start of next year, and we hope to be able to run some more in-person tours as the restrictions ease. And that'll give you a chance to see that magnificent campus that you saw that Anissa presented to you before. And so what we will do that we will notify families when these opportunities become available. And as I'm sure you can appreciate, at the moment, our priority is ensuring that the current students are able to complete this year with as little impact as possible to their learning. So that's why we're sort of just putting that little bit of a ring of protection, additional protection around that. But if you are considering us for 2023, we would recommend your application form is in before the end of this year. So that way you can ensure that at least your application is in and couldn't be considered for that first round process in 2023. So that's what are going to be the next steps from there. Well, you know, that's all it is from both Yvonne and I tonight. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope that this has been a good start to your journey with us, and we hope that tonight has been really helpful. You know, we will follow up this tour by sending out application packs to those of you who haven't yet applied. But if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact us or our team on the enrolment team at enrolments@heathdale.vic.edu.au, or if you can't remember that, go to fill out the inquiry form that's located on our website. So on behalf of Yvonne and I want to say thanks again, and we hope that you will enjoy the rest of this evening. Stay safe, and especially as we move towards the Christmas season, may that be a time of joy and celebration with you, your family and your loved ones. So thank you again for joining us. Good night and God bless.